So now that we finished discussing some of the algorithms behind static timing analysis, we want to go back to our design constraints that we had to define after elaboration of during the synthesis flow and see how we actually set the t equals 12 from before, the false path that we discussed before, and so on. So, timing constraints. Here's a stupid question. How does the STA tool know what the required clock period is? We've been discussing all the time that we have this nice waveform of a clock, and this is our t, or our clock period. How do we know what the clock period is? And the obvious answer is that we have to tell it. We have to define constraints for the design. We have to bound the design into a certain type of an envelope that it has to meet. This is usually done with what's known as the SDC, or Synopsys Design Constraint syntax. It's a superset of Tickle. Okay, there are three main categories of timing constraints: clock definitions, the things that we tell it about the clock itself. There's modeling the world external to the chip, and there are timing exceptions. In addition, we'll discuss design rules that we can also define through SDC syntax. So, just a few things before we get to that. Collections. Collections, like the stamp collection over here, is something that's special about SDC. So, you think you know Tickle if you've done any course on Tickle, or you've done some programming in Tickle, but EDA tools decided to use Tickle, the tool command language, as their basis for writing different scripts and so forth, but it wasn't sufficient for them, and they decided to define a different data structure called a collection. Okay, so a collection is like a Tickle list. If you remember, a Tickle list is just actually a bunch of strings that are connected together with a space or something like that. In fact, everything in Tickle is just a string, and that wasn't sufficient when wanting to define different things like SDC. They wanted to say, listen, if you have a pin or a net or a cell, these things have additional parameters to them, so let's define something else. Therefore, if everything in Tickle is just a string, a collection is a pointer to an array or a struct or something like that that has different information about the string. The thing is that if we do anything like a for each or different operations, Tickle operations on a collection, we're actually just seeing this string, which is the pointer to where the collection is in the memory. So you can't go and run a for each on a collection, because you'll run over these different pointer values and not actually what's inside the collection. Therefore, there's a bunch of collection specific functions that allow us to do things with collections. For example, instead of running for each on a collection, we would run for each in collection. Here's a short list of the different things that you can do with collections. For example, index collection is similar to what would be in Tickle L index to show what the nth index in a Tickle list is. You would show index collection n would show what the nth member of a collection is, or size of collection is like L length, and so forth and so on. One of the important ones is get object name, which allows us to return the name that we often call the collection that means something and not just the pointer to that collection. Another point is what are known as design objects, and here there's a difference between how Synopsys and Cadence do it, so I will just go over it shortly. Here we have some sort of a Verilog module called foo with input ports A, B, and out. A and B are inputs, output is an output. We also have an internal wire called N1. Inside this, we have instantiations to two standard cells, INV-X1 and NAND-X3. We called the inverter U1, we called the NAND U2, and we have our referencing by name. So the input of the inverter gets the input A, the output of the inverter gets this wire, this NAND, the input of it gets N1, the other input gets B, and the output gets out, and that's the whole module. Well, when we wanted to discuss these things in our different tools using SDC and using the rest of the things that we'll be using throughout the course, we have to define what the different parts are called. So we call this thing that's written after the module, this name, we call it a design. So foo is our design. It's often called the current design, and we can use the command current design to find out which design is our scope is looking at right now. Then we have something called a cell. A cell is an instantiation of some sort of a design if we were at a different scope. So for example, U1 is an instantiation of inverter 1, and this we call it a cell. If we would do something like get cells, we would receive something like U1. In parenthesis here, we have the Cadence name, which is now called an inst. The other side of this, the actual module that we're looking at, InvX1, that's called a reference. So a module, if we were to instantiate foo somewhere inside that other scope, it would be known as a reference. In Cadence, this is called a module. Okay, when we are looking at the scope, the primary inputs and outputs of this scope, of this design, they are called ports. So the ports of module foo are A, B, and out. However, if we look inside an instantiation such as U1, U1 is not in our scope. It's a subclass, it's a sub instance of our scope. So the ports of U1 of this inverter are called pins in this case. In is and out are the pins to this U1 instance. Okay, N1 is the wires of the design. It's called a net. And finally, we have a special net that's called a clock. We also call it a clock tree in Cadence, and we'll discuss a clock often. The last thing that's kind of background to this SDC is what we call helper functions. So we saw what the different parts of the design are, and now we're going to see, and we saw what a collection is. Now we're going to see how we can get collections of different parts of the design. Pay attention that these will only work after design elaboration. Before that, we don't have any knowledge of what the different design cells, ports, etc. are. So here's what we had on the previous slide, right? And we have these commands that are called get commands. So we have get ports, get pins, get nets. So for example, if we were to write get ports star, sometimes you can remove the star and it will understand it's a star. Star is a glob. It grabs everything. So if we do get port star when our scope, when our current design is foo, what we would get returned is a collection that includes A, B, and out. If we were to do get pins on U1 / star, what we would get are U1 in and U1 out. Okay, and but that's a collection of those guys, and if we want to iterate over them, we'd have to do for each in collection. And if we want to know the names, we'd have to get object name of get pins U1 star. So let me write that down a second. We can do get object name, and then square brackets, get pins U1 star, and it will print out U1 / in and U1 / out, a list of those two. Okay, and get nets will return us N1. Okay, we can also add this minus hierarchical to help us go down in designs if we don't know things like this name U1. Sometimes that can be a bit painful, so there are some ways of doing it easier, which are with these all commands. So for example, if we look at the module foo and we only want to have the inputs, we can use all inputs and we'll get a collection of A and B. If we do all outputs, we'll get a collection that includes out. That's instead of doing get ports star minus filter collection direction equals in, and I'm not going to go into that syntax over here, but it can get pretty complex. So it's much easier just to write all inputs or all outputs, or all registers will actually go through the whole design and return all the flip-flops and latches that it finds.